Genetic engineering is really a radical revolution in food production. It's really a cell invasion technology. You know, people have heard they're taking a flounder gene and putting it in tomato so the tomato can last in cold temperatures. But people don't ask, how does that flounder gene get in that tomato? How does it get in there? And what really happens is, the only way you can do it is to invade the cell of the tomato and deposit the flounder gene. Well, what's good at invading cells? Bacteria and viruses.
So Proposition 37 to label genetically modified foods lost in California by a narrow margin of 47 to 53%. Strange, since 9 out of 10 Americans want their GMO food labeled. But not strange, since the opposition and its donors, top biotech companies, outspent the supporters by $36 million, or 5 to 1. Supporters' top donors included such heavy hitters as Dr. Bronner's Magic Soaps. As for these biotech companies, they're really just chemical companies, and that is their diabolical play. Monsanto makes Roundup. It kills plants. They also make the plants that cannot be killed by Roundup. This allows farmers to buy and plant Monsanto's seeds, then spray the shit out of them with Monsanto's pesticides to kill other plants. The problem is these weeds evolve quickly, so farmers need a different and stronger herbicide from the chemical companies, who also sell the crops resistant to that herbicide. And then weeds become resistant to the new herbicide. They need something stronger. It's chemical inflation. This year, the USDA greenlit the use of 2,4-D resistant corn and soy from Dow. This will allow farmers to douse their fields with glyphosate or Roundup as well as 2,4-D. Now, if you haven't heard of 2,4-D for a while, it's because it's half of Agent Orange, which didn't work out so well for the Vietnamese. But this time, it's different, right? So the issue isn't banning GMO crops as many European countries. That's not American. It's just about labeling it. The consumer's right to know. We just want the same consumer protections that China and Russia have, who also label GMOs, as do these countries. But of course the U.S. doesn't, since the FDA, USDA, and Obama administration are all stuffed with Monsanto people. It's become a state-level issue, which is where the $45.6 million comes in. Because if an industry has to spend that much money to stop your right to know, they probably don't have your best interest at heart.
Since welcoming agro-giant Monsanto into the country in 1996, Argentina has become the world's largest soybean producer. Today, nearly 100% of its soy crop is genetically altered, with Monsanto providing much of the pesticides used in the country. But we're now learning that this overabundance of chemicals isn't just confined to Argentina's crops. A new AP report shows that they're having enormous effects on the 12 million people who live in the country's farm belt. The AP has documented dozens of cases around the country where poisons are applied in ways that are contrary to existing laws. Pesticides are showing up in the soil and drinking water, and a government report found 80% of children surveyed had traces of pesticide in their blood. As a result, people are becoming very sick. In Santa Fe, Argentina, cancer rates are 2 times to 4 times higher than the national average. And in another province called Chaco, birth defects have quadrupled.
You know, all I can say is it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, and it's not right for biotech and food companies to fool and deceive the American people.
We need to start having conversations in our communities, our cities, neighborhoods, whatever it is it takes to get involved with our local food movements.
You know, this is serious, and it's not only our right to know, but it's our right to complain.
Let food be thy medicine.
as I said, I mean, this is the issue of the moment.
This is insane. It violates people's rights. It violates basic principles of a marketplace where you have to have information to make decisions. And it's dangerous because the studies that have been done show a lot of health effects.
I can tell you right now that 85% of the corn in the United States is genetically modified.
Stop letting Monsanto and DuPont and all these other companies, stop letting them maintain intellectual property monopolies over the seeds that were granted by Mother Nature and God and the universe so that we can sustain life on this planet. That's what it's really about.
I'm 6 months pregnant. With this pregnancy, I'm more aware of the things that I am eating, the choices that I am making. I want to make informed choices. I don't find personally when I'm in the grocery store that foods that are genetically modified are labeled. And everything I am consuming directly affects this child that's growing in my belly, and I absolutely have a right to know what I'm eating and what I'm therefore feeding the child.
My mother had heart disease, my oldest brother had heart disease, and all of us had hypertension, but I just didn't really think about it. And then I had a heart attack. I was told that I had to change my diet. Lord, you are so surprised what's in our food. Looking at the labels changed my life. I feel so much better. And I really do have a right to know what's in my food.
I grew up, eating meat and potatoes and, my fair share of Twinkies and Doritos and Ding Dongs. And then as I started into motherhood, I truly didn't think twice about the foods that I was feeding my family because they were the same foods that I ate as a kid. When our youngest child suddenly one morning had an allergic reaction to breakfast, her face started to swell shut. It was absolutely terrifying. We realized that we were pretty food illiterate when it came to these processed foods. There were also a whole bunch of new chemicals and new ingredients that hadn't been in the foods that we ate as kids. Some of these GMOs, they're designed to produce an insecticide internally in the plant and to withstand increasing doses of weed killers. Here in the US, these genetically engineered ingredients, they're not on the labels, so we're not able to make an informed choice. And so while the jury is still out on this, I want the right to know what I'm feeding my family. You guys, you're too important, right? Right?
I have a right to know what's in my food.
We have a right to know what's in our food.
I have the right to know what I'm feeding my family.